Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butch Tester. You guys know who I am, and you know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And that's what we want to do today. We want to get you fired up about my author. I'll be spending time today with Richard J. Raven, and we'll be talking about the book, I Was There. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Richard. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Thank you, Dr. Angela, and hello.
Thank you so much for being on with us today. Now, we have a little bit of a tradition around here. Before we start talking about your book, I give every guest an opportunity to introduce themselves because I realize I might be introducing you to some new listeners, to some new readers out there. So, first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes you you?
Well, Dr. Angela, I was born in a different state a long time ago, and I'm retired.
There are so many of my author guests who are retired persons, and I think that this is such a great way to spend one of the best ways to spend your retirement years, and that is sharing about the work that you have created. So I love that. The title of your book, I Was There. I have to admit, that is a little intriguing. I would definitely stop if it were on my local bookshelf. But I have to ask, being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do? Or did you find that this was just one of the best ways to reach the masses with your story?
Well, Dr. Angela, from reading the Bible over 30 odd years ago, um, every time I read the Gospels, I could see it happening in my eyes, in my mind. And so I
Mhm.
wrote down some notes, simply wrote notes. And recently, I decided I needed to write the book so other people could see what I saw.
Oh, I love that. And I have to agree with you. Having a handy dandy notebook to include your thoughts is such a game changer. We have so much going on in the world that we just can't possibly hold on to every thought that crosses our mind, and being able to jot that down is such a smart move. I love that.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to the title of the book, many authors have said the title came to me first and I kind of wrote the story around the title. Others have said I wrote the entire book with a working title and didn't know what I was going to name it until it was time to take it to the publishers. Tell us about the story with the title of your book.
Well, the story, Dr. Angela, is simply that I was there. As I read the reports in the Gospels, I could see it happening. I could see Jesus. I could see him doing the miracles. I could see him doing everything he did. I could see him being crucified. So I was there. The title
Mhm.
came to me simply because I was there.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And what a powerful expression of your faith to be able to submerge yourself into the story and really feel what was going on. I think that is incredibly powerful. Now,
Mm.
when it comes to the proper way to read your book, I firmly believe that the author presents it to us the way in which we should consume it, meaning page first through the last. However, I do know that folks like to roulette read. They like to kind of open up the book and start anywhere. So, would you say that your book is best read from the first page to the last, or is it reader's choice? They can start anywhere.
I think I'd like you to start from page one.
Yeah.
And in the preface, I talk about going to the Bible to check everything I say. Don't take my word for it. Particularly read the book of Mark. But if people want to pick it and do a chapter at a time, each chapter speaks for itself. And each chapter, I was there.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Now, when it comes to most of the books that are written, the author has a particular audience, if you will, that they are writing for. I try to ask this question of every guest, and that is, would you say that your book is appropriate for someone as young as high school, like a 14, 15-year-old? Or do they need to be a little bit older, college age, or perhaps, or do they need more life experience to be able to follow along?
No, I don't think they do need life experience, Dr. Angela. I would think anybody from 10 years of age up to 90 could read this book because it's in very simple English.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Now, do they have to be more of a mature Christian or a seasoned believer, if you will, in order to follow along? Or can someone who is new to the faith or even Christian curious be able to follow the storyline?
Well, I think that it doesn't matter whether you come from a faith background or a questioning background. If you can read this book and allow yourself to immerse yourself in the story, it'll either rekindle your faith or help you to gain a faith. And one of the main audiences I've written for is people who are not churched anymore. There are a lot of people who used to be churched people and they simply don't go now, particularly since COVID.
You are very spot on there. So many people are de-churched now for various reasons, and COVID just added an additional reason to that. So you are very right there. Thank you. Well, it is
Mhm.
time for us to take a very short break. Now, listeners, you guys know that of course this book is available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. But Richard, if someone wants to reach out to you or follow you online, what is one of the best ways to do that?
At this point, I have a Facebook page in my own name, Richard J. Raven, author, and that's a good place to find me.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book and how you can stay in touch. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. Richard, let me ask you this. How did, and I want to give you more time to explain if you like, because we kind of touched on it in the other segment. How did this story come to you? Did you have like an aha moment? Was there an epiphany? Was there a on the road to Damascus type of thing for you? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, Dr. Angela, reading the Bible, and I have an active imagination, um, and I could simply see all the events. I still can. And so I jotted it down with no intention of writing a book. And each miracle and everything, not everything Jesus said. I haven't tried to rewrite the Bible. This is just about Jesus' life. And in the last 12 months, I've had a pretty strong prompting from God to actually publish the book. I wasn't going to.
Oh, wow. What made you decide that yes, now is the time. This is something that I really do need to do.
Well, it was just a prompting. I'd written the book. I'd left one or two chapters unfinished because it wasn't supposed to be a book, and I just got this prompting that I needed to share it with people who don't have faith, or people who used to have faith, or people who used to be churched, and I just want people to realise that Jesus is real. He's a person. He's alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You are so right. You're so right there. I think that for many, and my listeners here in the States will understand this terminology. I don't assume that they say the same thing there in Australia, but here, many times on what we call Easter Sunday, many people will say Happy Resurrection Day as opposed to saying Happy Easter because it
Yeah.
is that type of language. He is alive. We are
Yeah.
celebrating Resurrection Sunday. So I definitely understand where you're going with that. Now, I know that there may be someone out there because people are people, and they're going to say, well, Mr. Raven, Mr. Richard Raven, what gives you the final authority to say anything about this subject? So, someone that may say, why are you writing on this subject? What say you then?
Well, Jesus himself said to go and make disciples. So I'm answering his call, really. I'm not inventing anything. I'm not creating a story. The author
Yeah.
of this book is really God, not me. I just am the person in the middle.
hmm hmm And you are so right there. When we look at the Great Commission of go and make more disciples, I
Mm,
love that we are given the broad brush of God has given us a particular personality for a reason. And there is someone that loves your personality. There is someone who needs to hear the story the way that you would tell it, not the way that, mom, dad, sister, brother, uh, husband, wife has been telling it, but the way someone else, you, have been telling
mm.
it. So I love that you are giving that as an example of why this was appropriate and why you needed to get it out. So many people get stuck there. How do I go out and share my faith when there's a whole book inside of them? They just don't realize that if they write it down and share it with the world, they may very well be the difference that someone needs. I love that.
And,
hmm
and this comes from my clear understanding that we each have gifts, and one of my gifts is words. Um, and I need to share that.
hmm hmm Not everyone has that gift. So you are so right to be able to communicate in your chosen style, um, and especially with books. Nowadays, I think that there is a desire to roll back time just a touch in that having social media, it is convenient that we can get so much information in a nanosecond. But I think people are also longing for a time where things were just a touch slower, where you could read a book and you could have that tangible book or have it on your iPad or on your phone to be able to still get some knowledge and not just entertainment. So I like that you have done that.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Angela. Also, I think with social media, uh, I don't get emotional about things I read there. It doesn't touch my heart,
Yeah.
whereas reading a good book does.
hmm You are so right there. In fact, I've told this story before. I'll be brief. But my mother used to read to me when I was just a toddler, and she made the stories so exciting because she read it with such enthusiasm that
Mm,
I think I inherited, if you will, her joy and love of reading. And not
mm.
only do I enjoy a good book, but as the show is an example, I love speaking with authors about their really good books too. So you are so right. There's nothing like having that little nook in your home or in your apartment and being able to cozy up with a really good book and be able to
Mm.
enjoy it. I love it. I love it. Now,
Oh,
for someone who says, I I was there. I want for you to be able to touch on that just a little bit more. Is I was there simply your own understanding of what you are reading, or are you saying that in your mind's eye, you can really put yourself in that space and understand the full meaning of what God is sharing with us through Scripture?
That's exactly how it is when I read, particularly the Gospels. I
Mhm.
am there. It's not just something that I'm reading, they're not just words, it's reality.
Yeah.
It's in my mind's eye, certainly. Um, but hopefully, I've created a book when, if you read it, you can be there too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is such um a tell or a calling of a really good book. There have been some books where I have read for pleasure, others for information's sake, of course for school, for university, but the books that I read just for my own sake because I just want to read a good book, the ones that I find myself walking down the street with the author, that I find that I am going on the adventure with the main character, that is such a good book. That's the page turner. That's the one you don't want to put down. And it sounds like you wanted to help us go on that spiritual journey of reading the Bible with a more 4K, with a more vivid imagination, and really be able to understand the words. So I definitely applaud you. I love that idea. I too am that type of person that when someone explains something to me, I see the movie version of what they are telling me. So for some folks, they're like, "What?" And I think that that is the gift that God has given me. I'm able to see it as you share, and I can really get
Mm.
in tune to what you are saying. I love it. Now, when you feel, or let me rephrase, did you feel called to share this revelation with the world? So many authors that I've spoken with have mentioned that there was a nudge, a prompting, a knowing that a particular time perhaps was better than another time, meaning it was the first of the year and everyone is making, a new year resolution. And a lot of times people promise themselves to do things that they don't actually do. Where maybe in the month of July or August, when you say, I really need to start writing this book, it's more concrete because you're not just getting on the bandwagon with everyone else for the beginning of the year. Did you have such a prompting? And when did you know that this prompting was the prompting to make sure that it actually was available on shelves?
Dr. Angela, I recently joined a little writing group and we write short stories. And it
Mm,
came to me then that I can write.
mhm.
I wasn't aware of it. And I had this book or these notes that I'd written, and I had a strong prompting. It might have been a sermon, but I don't know. But I had a strong prompting that this has got to be released to the world.
Yeah.
And every dollar I've spent on it, I see as an offering to God. I don't know. I have no idea if I'll make any money out of it at all. That's not why I wrote it. I wrote this book for the reader, and it's not education. I want people to experience it.
Mhm. Oh, that is beautiful. I love that the authors that I get to spend time with, even if it's just for this short period of time, they have such beautiful hearts. And the sentiment is usually very close to that. I just want to do what I know has been a part of the purpose of my life. Of course, the education that you have for what you've done prior to retirement is a part of who you are. But this too is such an important part of why we are spending time on earth. And if it can be the difference for someone, and I know that it will be the difference for someone, and you may never get an opportunity to hear from them, but boy, we know that books are still a valued commodity in this world, and someone is going to
Mm.
read this book and definitely be changed for the better. So that is wonderful. Now, when it comes to the nuggets in the book that you have placed along the way, is there any one bit of wit or wisdom, a nugget, if you will, that you want to make sure that the reader picks up?
I would say that the nugget, and it's all the way through this, there's only a 38-page book. It's not really a big book, but the nugget, there's one nugget in every chapter. There's the nuggets in the miracles, but the greatest one is the crucifixion.
Mhm.
How many people, how many people were there and
Yeah,
saw it? And I was.
yeah, yeah. That is so powerful. And I have to agree with you. Um, every time on Good Friday, I feel a particular way because I think of Mother Mary. I have only one son, and I cannot imagine the heartache, the pain that she was experiencing at the foot of
Great.
the cross,
Yeah.
seeing her son there.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I think that if we can place ourselves there as any particular character, or perhaps just a member of the crowd, how it could change your life. The same as the soldier that after the trembling realized, oh my goodness, this really was the Son of God. We
Mm.
all are potentially the people there in the crowd. And what a beautiful thing to be able to say this year that I
Mm.
was there, the same that you have. I love it. I love it. Richard,
And Dr. Angela, probably the
yes,
greatest nugget of all, was at the gravesite. I
yeah,
saw Jesus. I heard his voice. He's alive.
yeah. He is risen. He is alive. And thank God for that, because that changes the whole trajectory of our lives because
It does.
he did exactly what he said he would do. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. I love it. I love it. This book is such a great reminder of anyone on their faith walk of where are you along the story and where do you strive to be? That when we place ourselves along the path, that we can go on the journey, not only with you in the book, but also through scripture and find ourselves being our best possible self. I love that.
Mm.
Love that.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. I agree.
Yes, sir. Well, listeners, you guys know what I'm going to say. Now, we didn't go too deep into the story because you know what my little disclaimer here. If you want to know how the story ends, you've got to buy the book. So I will tell you that this is going to be a wonderful read for you. And if you travel, much like many of us do, what a great book to have to read during your layover, especially if you are traveling from one side of the country to the other. You know how long that takes, and this is going to be something that can really occupy your time. It can be a leisure read, but yet it can also be a faith-filled read as well. Well, Richard
Mm.
J. Raven, we are out of time, but thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with me here today. Now, of course, we know that this book is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. But if someone wants to reach out to you, what is one way that they could do that?
Dr. Angela, my website will be finished next week, and that's Dr. Richard Raven, Richard J. Raven, author.
Alrighty, thank you so much for that. And again, thank you for being a guest here on the show.
And that J is important. I found out there's another Richard Raven that writes dark books that I don't like. So I'm writing now under the name of Richard J. Raven.
Mhm. Alrighty, listeners, thank you for spending some time with us here today as well. You could have been anywhere. You chose to spend it with us, and I thank you for doing so. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.